What number did you have for the transfer portal yesterday? The transfer portal opened in basketball yesterday, college basketball. I want to talk more about the NCAA transfer portal because having thought about it and spent time listening to Coca and his views, I've come to a conclusion. The system we have stinks. The transfer portal that we all tried to fix by giving free agency to players and allowing for NIL money to go to players has not had the benefits that you thought it would have. It is not players jumping for joy, grabbing all of the money and saying, finally, we're being paid for all of the great work we do for your conference, your university, and for your barely endowed science chair over on Science Hill. When you've got over 700 players that join the transfer portal, which is up from a record 291 last year, which was up from a record 175 in 2023, why is it you think the numbers keep climbing? Why is it that you think that there are players sitting on the bench of teams that are still involved in the NCAA tournament who are saying, hey, I'm not really happy at this school. It's not about the coach. It's about my playing time. Wouldn't that be amazing if players were in the portal because of playing time? Players are in the portal because they don't get the amount of money they think they deserve or their agents or families told them they're going to get when they become college athletes. You get in the portal for the sole purpose of negotiating a different amount of money more than a current team is paying you. It shouldn't be a surprise to you that the top player in transfer is a UNLV player, and UNLV came out and said, hey, we can't even pay our coach. Forget playing Thomas. So here's the solution that we're going to focus on. We're going to make it so that John Skipper isn't right. We're going to make it so that we don't do power conferences only. We're going to make it so that there are Cinderellas that can win in the NCAA tournament. And we're going to level the playing field here because NIL sure as heck fire didn't do it, and it's not going to do it. And neither will the transfer portal. We're going to make it so that if you take someone out of the portal, you have to pay the team that loses the player. We're going to institute something called transfer fees. We're going to make it just like soccer. If you need to raise money for your team because you're short or you really prefer STEM research and you want to sell a player, you can sell a player. The player can cut a deal with a team and then you get a fee. It happens with Japanese and the posting system. Now, is it true that certain teams can pay more transfer fees than others? Yeah, but it won't matter actually because we're not allowing the fees to be paid for the high school players. We're only allowing NIL to be paid to college players. And then if you lose a college player because he wants to transfer for a playing time or for a greener pasture, and the greener pasture only comes from one of the power conferences, okay. We're going to make sure we pay the other 26 Division I conferences in basketball for losing players the way I wanted to be paid when I lost a player to free agency because I couldn't afford that player. In baseball, we get paid through a pick. No, I want hard, cold cash. And this doesn't mean I want to become Charlie Finley. This doesn't mean that I am allowing or suggesting that players can be sold. What I am alleging and proposing is that there is a fee structure that is put into place so everyone knows the rule of engagement. And the reality of the fee structure is that dollars are fungible. So if a team wants to acquire a player in the portal, they will calculate how much money they give to that player, plus the amount of fee they have to pay to the team losing that player, and they will then make that the market value for the player they're acquiring. Because at the end, markets tend to correct themselves, and teams tend to value players with their value And then it doesn't matter how the money's distributed. So if 80% goes to the player and 20% goes to the team, as long as 100% that a acquiring team pays is what that player is worth 100%, then it will be market irrelevant to what the breakout is or how the money is split. How do you get to that point? You have to get to that point with representation, with potential forming of a union with college players, with a set of rules that are agreed to through a governing body that governs all 31 Division I conferences that have men's basketball teams. You have to do it in a way that is honest, even, and that recognizes that there will be differences between certain teams the way there are in life. There's difference in intelligence, there's difference in money, there's difference in experience, in power, in where you live, in what you do. Those differences are to be expected in any society. I'm not asking to have 350 Dukes or 350 North Carolinas. I am asking to have a system where people understand how to play within the rules, and then you pay a premium for people who understand how to get through the loopholes in the rules. And then you've got a governing body that closes the loopholes so people can then focus on creating the new loopholes or taking advantage of new existing as yet undiscovered loopholes. I believe that we are going to get to that point. I believe that it makes perfect sense to me that the way the transfer portal is in the NCAA is not sustainable. It can't be what the conferences had in mind. It can't even be what the super conferences had in mind, because you would have players transferring only in the Super League if only a Super League exists. Players will easily work with staff and agents and universities because they all have the same thought, that it's just business.